We need more Black strategists in the advertising and communications industry, and this is how we get it done. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Make the Way, where we decode culture in real time. I'm your host, cultural guide and guard, Mike Fair, and I appreciate you tuning in this week. This week, we're going to dive into a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and it's the lack of Black talent, specifically in strategy roles, but more widespread within the advertising and communications industry. And I've come up with 3 codes on how we get more Black talent in the industry. So this week, let's lock in, let's work together, let's increase diversity. And it's especially relevant right now, or top of mind for me, as we're celebrating Black History Month. And I think about all the incredible creative strategists, leaders, Black leaders who have opened doors for me, who have inspired me. And I think about our duty to pay it forward. And I'm excited to be a part of that and help in my own way by sharing some of the ways that I think we can add more talent to the industry. So let's jump in. So for those that are new to Make the Way, I'm Mike. I am a brand and cultural strategist that's worked in the marketing, advertising, and communications industry for my entire career. I have been blessed to work my way up from starting at the bottom of the totem pole to now leading strategy for a global communications firm. And I'll be honest, I had to fight tooth and nail to get into this industry. Many doors were slammed in my face. I was told that I didn't have the right background or I didn't have the right experience. And I had to do the work, not only through networking and understanding what it takes to do strategy work, but I had to learn how to tell my story and really break down the doors. And so my goal in my career at this point, after many years of leading world-class brands and winning a ton of awards and doing great work and breakthrough campaigns, main objective at this point is helping other Black talent, diverse talent get into the industry. And I want to charge other leaders with that same energy. We've got to bring in the next generation of talent, and I namely want to bring in more Black talent. And I'm going to break it down specifically for strategy, why I think it's so critical. But let's start with the statistics. And, the reality is that there is a broader issue with diversity within the advertising, marketing, and communications industry. And it's full stop systemic and something that has been happening for far too long. And the trends are getting worse. When we look at the diverse segments that make up the marketing and advertising industry, there is overall a lack of diversity. And the ethnic skew looks like 10.3% Asian, 9.5% Hispanic Latino, and 7.2% African American or Black. So you'll see why I want to have a hyper focus on Black talent today, and specifically strategists, because that's my discipline and that's what I know well. I've landed on 3 codes that I feel are the unlock to us getting more Black talent and diverse talent into the industry. The first of which is introducing more talent to the craft early. The second is fostering the skill set. And the third is opening doors and paying it forward. So let's start with a little story time. Very early on in my career, I had a very senior strategist pull me aside and tell me that he believed, and this was a white gentleman, he believed that Black strategists make the best strategists. And, obviously he sparked my curiosity. I was like, why do you feel that way? And he pointed to duality, the inherent duality that Black Americans move through the world with, the constant processing, the analysis, and choiceful decision making on how to show up, how to observe and leverage cultural codes, and when necessary, by choice or even by force, the ability to code switch, the ability to determine what's necessary in a moment, the ability to be empathetic about the experiences of others, but also thoughtful about how you show up, the systems that you leverage within those environments. And so his perspective was that leads to a great strategist. And I tend to agree with them. And I think it's even more relevant when we start to think about intersectionality, specifically with Black women and what they bring to the craft and the inherent duality of their experience based on race and sex and also just systemic racism and all of the different things that Black women have had to carry. I think they are the real ones when we get right down to it. But I always remembered that conversation. It always made me passionate about being I already was passionate about being a Black strategist, full stop. I wave that banner always that it is my cultural perspective that makes me dangerous. When I get in the room, I bring so much lived experience. I bring so much academic expertise and, experience and all of that. But you can't replicate the life that I've lived. You can't replicate the experiences that I bring. You can't replicate the Detroit energy that comes with me in the room, that's shaped by being a Black kid from the west side of Detroit and growing up and living and experiencing all different types of scenarios and being around and immersed in different cultures, and how that allows me to show up in my work. So yeah, I always carried that experience, and it's always made me want to usher more Black talent into my discipline. And so that's part of the heart behind me wanting to speak on this and do my part as well to help more Black talent get into not only advertising and comms, but specifically into strategy. So let's jump into the codes. The first code is introducing more talent to the craft earlier. And it starts with having a clear definition of the discipline. I think I could do a full series on breaking down all of the different departments and disciplines within advertising and communications, but let's just start with brand strategy for the focus of today. A brand strategist is a professional who defines a company's identity, positioning, and brings voice to their target audience, really unpacking their perceptions and ultimately driving long-term business growth for a brand. A strategist blends market research with psychology to build a comprehensive brand strategy. This is ensuring consistent messaging, visual identity, and ultimately ensuring that a brand's values are communicated to their specific target audience. I personally was blessed to have a senior researcher, Tanya Roberts, who is a legend, honestly, within her space. She identified that I had the skill set for a strategist. And at the core, a great strategist is both analytical and creative. They are a creative thinker. They are constantly imagining things that don't exist yet in the world, big ideas, but they are also passionate about data. They are strategic by nature, thinking about the specific details to get to an outcome. The original title for a brand strategist, and still some people go by this term, a strategic planner. You are someone who's thinking about how do we execute a plan? What are the nuances? What is the precise approach to get to a desired outcome? And Tanya, through a great friend of mine, Rachel Greer, her daughter, she pulled me to the side one day and was like, Mike, I think you would be an awesome strategist because you are creative by nature, but you are very analytical. And bringing those two worlds together, you will be a great strategist. And I wasn't even familiar with the term. I wasn't really clear on the different jobs that would exist within an advertising agency. And her just planting the seed led to a full career for me. And so kudos to Tanya. I appreciate you. And my hope is that this does that for someone else, giving you just a glimpse of what type of skill set is important to be a bomb strategist and planting the seed to embark on a journey that could lead to a really flourishing and beautiful career. So let's talk a little bit more about the skill set. I think it's one thing to know the definition of a brand strategist. Is one thing to know at a high level, you need to be creative and analytical. It's another thing to actually understand the nuances of what makes a strategist great. I will say at the core to be a great strategist is being innately curious. You must have a desire to learn, a desire to investigate, a desire to unpack and really break down things that other people might find boring or other people might look at the surface. You must go deeper. It's a perfect career for lifetime learners, for people who are passionate about understanding how people live their lives and willing to Get out there, talk to people, sit in a coffee shop and people watch and observe and take notes and unpack the way people live their lives. So innate curiosity, in my opinion, is one of the central skills to being a great strategist. In addition to innate curiosity, you have to have an inclination to investigation, leaning into research, basing your hypotheses and data, unpacking data, visualizing data. That is core to the skill set. And we can go much deeper on the methods and some of the tangible tools and resources to do that. But at a baseline level, how are you investigating data on a regular basis and looking for the truth within that data, the reason why people are behaving a certain way? That's core to a strategist. From there, I champion all strategists to be writers. We have to have a relationship with words that we're able to make words jump off the page. We're able to inspire people by our briefs and by our presentation. We need to have a relationship with writing, creative writing, telling a story. The best strategists are beautiful, thoughtful storytellers and have a narrative that flows through their work. And that's a constant skill that you're honing. It's a constant skill that you're developing and shepherding. But the art of creative writing is essential to a dope strategist. And the last piece of the puzzle, and this might seem like it comes in opposition of what I just called out around creative writing, but you have to master the skill of brevity. How do you get to the brass tacks of what may amount to weeks and months of research and analysis and unpacking a subject and getting to the heart of it and being able to deliver it in a concise way that is clear and simple but powerful? That is the skill that is always being developed as a strategist. How do I take all of the emotion and the data and the learning and the human insight and just the work that I've been doing and pour that into a document in a way that is so precise, so to the point, and leaves no room for misunderstanding? I see those as kind of the core skill set of a great strategist. So how do you put that skill set to good use? I think it's important for me to lift the veil a little bit in terms of my own journey with strategy. As I mentioned at the outset, I really had to break down the doors to get into the industry. And I worked as a researcher at a new business intelligence firm for many years, but not in a traditional strategy role. And I think the first step towards getting into strategy, getting a legitimate strategy role, was doing the work of a strategist. And what I mean by that is honing the skill set even before you get the opportunity. And that's exactly what I did. I think I was working more as like a secondary research, a bit of primary research, and I just shifted my focus within my work to really identifying a problem, leveraging real data to support an approach, codifying a human insight or what we wanted to accomplish with a particular audience, and then mapping out the plan. In framing my work a bit more as a strategist versus a straightforward researcher, I was able to start telling the story of how I was already doing the work of a strategist. I would say to anyone that's trying to break into the industry, who's examining or exploring the discipline, start doing the work. Start creating your own assignments. Start creating your own work product. You know, whether that's at your job or even in your spare time. I think there's something to be said about the current state of where we exist within the amount of information, the amount of tools, and the amount of resources we have between the web or the internet or whatever you want to call it, the evolution of AI that's happening right now. You can create whatever you want. You can create a curriculum for your learning. You can create your own assignments and tasks for how you're going to learn and develop and create a work product. And then you will have something to show when you walk into an interview, when you get that first internship. For me, that looked like doing a trend report. I found it fun at the end of the year to make my projections and do some research and like base my thoughts on what was going to be cool in the next year, or what I learned from the things that I thought were dope in culture the previous year. And I would package those into just a little report, a deck, with cool pictures and dope fonts, just telling the story. And I will say, like, in my very early stages of my career, that was the thing that usually sealed the deal for me. When I would go into an interview and I had something to show, or how I thought and how I visualize my thoughts, it goes a long way. So get started. Use the AI, create your own assignments, start reading. I'm going to drop a book list at some point on some of the reading materials that I think are great for strategists. But you can do so much and get prepared even before you have the tangible opportunity. And they will respond to the fact that you walked in and sat down at the table ready to go. So the last code, and this is the most tangible and direct code within this playbook of how we get more Black talent into the industry, is around opening the doors and paying it forward. I want to charge not even just Black executives in general, with having a point of view on how we bring more diversity of thought and experience to our talent base. And I think it's a responsibility for us to think about where there are gaps within the team. And this isn't just about race or ethnicity. This is about mindset. This is about lived experience. This is about dynamic skill set. And what are people bringing to the table that's different and diverse from the other individuals? I'm always thinking about how I'm building, how I'm informing my choices around how we build teams. And it's not just about this person has the pedigree and they have the perfect resume. It's like they bring a different lens, they bring a different background. They come from a different part of the country. They've gone to different type of school, or they're into very interesting things. Like, those things matter. One of those elements is diversity, and thinking about how do we cast a wide net? How do we go into some new verticals to bring in diverse talent? And so I've held this as a banner within my own work. How do I have a really diverse pool of talent when I'm looking for new individuals to add to my team in strategy? But it also looks like referring people. Even when I don't have an opportunity within my department, how can I plug someone in on something? How can I serve as a mentor? How can I share information? I think about even the hat that I have on in this video is by a young creative that I met at the gym. This guy was talking to me about wanting to get into the advertising industry, and we had a great conversation. I shared some information with him, and I look at my guy, Kevin, now doing awesome work and creating really bold campaigns and being exactly who he is. And I feel happy that I had a little bit of a role in that, to inspire him that he can get into this industry, where I could introduce him to individuals that will help him along the way. Even now, it's those type of actions that we have to take. It's not only pushing hard for diverse and exploratory practices within our hiring, for those of us that are in the industry. It's also about serving up opportunities and connecting individuals where you hear from your peers that they're looking for talent. And then I think it's also pushing more broadly for diversity of thought. And that isn't just about placing Black talent, people of color specifically, even though we need to do that. We got to get that done. But it is about ensuring diversity of thought no matter who ends up in the role. How are we bringing in diverse mindsets and fueling our work with really great perspective? And you don't get that with some homogenous group. You don't get that with everyone having the same kind of monolithic experience. And so these are the ways that we get it done. So to recap, we talked about how we can get more Black strategists into the advertising and comms industry through 3 key codes. It's all about us introducing more talent to the craft early, really fostering the skill set, and opening doors and paying it forward. So I want to close by just honoring the amazing, brilliant Black creatives, strategists, account managers, executive leaders that exist within the advertising and communications industry. I want to honor you and salute you this Black History Month, but really every day for doing the work, for inspiring others. As I mentioned earlier, a special shout out to Tanya Roberts, Rachel Greer, Christine Villanueva, all these amazing Black leaders who were a part of my journey on getting into the industry and inspiring me to be great, inspiring me to lean into my unique lived experience, to bring my full self to work, to not leave my cultural references at the door, but also push hard to be the best at my work. And so I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in without them inspiring me along the way. From the early stages of my career till now, I want to honor all the Black creatives, all the Black strategists, all the Black leaders, all the Black minds, analysts, producers, all of the amazing individuals that make up this industry and fight the good fight. Despite the lack of diversity, despite the dwindling numbers, continuing to show up, continuing to be awesome, and continuing to be Black genius every day that they step in and take a seat at the table. So this is Make the Way. I love that we're hitting on a lot of different topics. I want to wish everybody a happy Black History Month, and I appreciate you tapping in with me. Make the Way is growing. I really, really encourage you to subscribe. I don't want you to miss any of the great content that we have coming. So like, comment, share, subscribe. Push this out to the individuals that are exploring culture, who are wanting to unpack culture. Let's build together. Let's create more systems and avenues for knowledge, for cultural exploration, and let's learn and grow together. So I appreciate you checking out Next Way, and I'm looking forward to tapping in with you in the next episode. Peace, y'all.